An organization called the South African Mass Movement has raised questions around why Parliament has two committees that are involved in selecting a public protector. Well, two committees that are running or speaking about affairs involving the public protector. This comes after it emerged that the Section 194 Impeachment Committee and the Ad Hoc Committee are both involved in this process. Joining us to, I suppose, vent out some of their concerns is Mzuvele Cele, who's the chair of the South African Mass Movement, with us here in our studio. So it's great to have you with us. Thanks very much indeed for making time. Let's start first by just unpacking what your organization does before we get into some of the concerns you raised about these committees.
Actually, our organization is an organization that is formed by poor South Africans who are concerned about our current situation. You look around our township, places where majority of people live, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of hopelessness. So we formed this organization in order to be a voice, in order to raise those concerns. We are raising this concern because we feel that we need to speak as poor people and assert ourselves in order for us to hold the elected representative accountable.
Sure. Are you a political formation?
No. We are an NGO.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
With that context, help us then understand the nature of the concerns you're raising. So we know there's the Section 194 committee, which has been put together essentially to see if there are grounds for the impeachment of the public protector. But there's also an ad hoc committee that's been put together to appoint Busisiwe Mkhwebane's successor. Part of what you're worried about is that these two processes are running concurrently.
Actually, our main worry is that we will have these committees which are tasked to do different things. The issue is that these committees are influenced by political motive and economic motives. First of all, we know that we had public protectors. Thuli Madonsela was a dead public protector. And we didn't know about those two public protectors. No one was interested. The only interest only came as a result of what the Constitutional Court judgment said about Parliament, to say they didn't hold President Zuma, the President accountable. So after that, we didn't anticipate that after we know that the importance of the public protector role, that we will see this politician using this public protector office to push their agendas. After that, everything that happened was just a political interest. Because if you look, after there was this judgment, we thought that Parliament will understand the unique role that is given by the Constitution of public protector. But what they did is that they using public protector offices in order to push their agendas. Whether you are talking about opposition parties or you are talking about a ruling party. The issue that they are electing a public protector or they are removing a public protector, it's got nothing to do with what the people are worried about. Which you find that in those reports, the report that gives people, poor people, like remedial action to say maybe the state must correct them, they don't matter to them. The only report that they matter is those reports that affect a politician or in high places, those reports that affect economicals such as your Reserve Bank, your ABSA, your CR17. They don't worry about those many reports which are ignored by the official. Those reports that give dignity to poor people. That is why we are here. Even now, we'll have a public protector that will be appointed, which will be influenced by politicians.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me make sure I just don't misunderstand you. When you say the public didn't care about the previous public protectors, including Thuli Madonsela, what do you mean by that?
No.
She's among, in fact, to the contrary, there are people who are saying it was Thuli Madonsela's tenure that possibly elevated that office and brought it into the spotlight.
Hence, we are saying nobody knew. Thuli Madonsela was not a first public protector.
Correct.
It's her who put the office into the spotlight.
Right.
But before that, we had public protectors. And people were putting their complaint there. Nobody cares about that because they were not going for the big guys. The only interest came after Thuli Madonsela. Right. That's the point that we are raising. And after that, we thought that even those reports that are given to poor people, we worried because they are not implemented. Those reports that maybe someone is been improper, like the state didn't implement the state recommendation. We say those are ignored by the parliament. You see, those that we are worried about. The only report that they will remove Tulma Tonsela or they will say the office is working is those reports that are affecting those big guys.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. How does that though then impact the work of the Section 194 committee? Because I hear the critique you're bringing forward, and I think there is some credence to that. And perhaps it's also a moment for the media to reflect, right? Which of these reports by that office typically get a whole lot more media coverage and are seem to be, shoved down the audience's throat. However, this to me sounds like a separate issue, right? Because the Section 194 committee has been put together because there had been a lot of questions around Busisiwe Mkhwebane's work and whether or not fundamentally she understands how the law should be implemented.
Exactly. We are not here for Thuli or Busisiwe.
Right.
We are here for the concern of poor people. We are saying even Busisiwe is been judged. We agree the understanding of the law. There is no issue about that. But we are saying you cannot judge on those 9 or whatever cases alone. You should judge it as the performance of the public protector as a whole. To say how many of these reports that are ignored by the official, so that when you say you are removing whatever or you're taking anything, we have no issue with Thuli or with Busisiwe, whether we understand what is going there. We don't have an issue with that. The issue that we have is that take into consideration those reports that are ignored, which are not a high-profile report. That is our issue. We have no issue at all about her being removed. Yes.
All right. So the process as is unfolding is not what you're concerned about?
No.
Okay, right. And I suppose there is a conversation to be had about what you're raising now because we're currently in the process of trying to elect Busisiwe Mkhwebane's successor. As far as you're concerned, what are the main criteria that these parliamentarians who are part of this ad hoc committee should be using to elect Busisiwe Mkhwebane's successor if they are to get right what you're saying we've gotten wrong all these years?
Thank you so much. We are worried that what we would like to see is to see you take into consideration all the issues that we are raising here, to say those reports that are supposed to be implemented by state institutions must not be ignored by the parliamentarian. Because what we are seeing now is that we see they only focus to elect someone who's going to push a certain agenda for a certain people, not someone who's going to, like, for example, take everything into consideration to say, for example, when we approach public protector, we approach public protector because it's the only option we have as poor people. We can, even if there is a finding that says there is nothing wrong with state institution, we can't challenge it in court because we don't have those financial resources. So we take that role of public protector as poor people as the most important role in the constitution that can restore hope when we find something wrong has been done by state officials.
Right. I mean, as a Chapter 9 institution, that's partly why it's there for. But Thuli Madonsela during her tenure actually used to speak a lot about a Gogo Dlamini. You know, I don't think there was an actual Gogo Dlamini who existed. But the point she was trying to make is that the office itself is meant to cater to people who don't have their own voice. You know, people who aren't able, as you say, to take on these big legal challenges which usually come with a lot of costs behind them. I wonder how you reckon a whole lot more emphasis could be placed on that in a context where the process itself is inherently politicized. I mean, it's MPs who belong to political parties who are involved in this. But that's what the Constitution says we should do.
That is why we are here. We are saying here, our Constitution empowers us. That is why we wrote to Parliament. We expect the media to follow through that. We expect the people who are electing a new public protector to consider our issue, because we're going to hold them accountable to that. Once 2 months or 2 years going forward to the new public protector, we'll be watching to say, is she or he doing what the Constitution demand of her or him. That is what we'll be looking for. So Parliament, and they must not just consider themselves only. They must consider the people who are unable to take or challenge the public protector in terms of court proceeding.
Right. Mzuvele Cele, thanks very much indeed for coming through. I think we have a better sense of the concerns that you are raising as an organization. He's the chairperson of the South African Mass Movement. We appreciate your time.